Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great weekend out there so far. Man, do we have a lot to cover in this morning's video. Of course, the first thing we will speak on is the tropics, as I do think we're going to get a tropical storm over the next couple days here in the Caribbean. Does this become a hurricane? I think it does have a shot to become one. Is it going to make a landfall as a hurricane? Is it even going to make a landfall as a tropical storm and, impact the U.S. or the Caribbean islands, the Greater Antilles? We got a lot to speak on, so we're going to go over, all the model guidance from overnight to this morning, the ensemble guidance. We'll talk about sea surface temperatures, the upper wind pattern, dry and moist air. We'll break it all down for you folks, get you guys a good idea of what's going on, and just get detailed, just like we always do. And then we'll discuss the weather as far as what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for your Sunday, as we do have ongoing flash flooding and severe weather right at this moment. And we'll have an opportunity for it throughout the next 24 hours, all the way into tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, we have an enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5, risk of severe weather, and we could have some strong tornadoes. So this will kind of be broken up into 3 segments, if you will, but there's a lot to cover. So we're just going to take our time. I don't have a clue how people only do 8 to 10 minute videos when the weather is just going crazy like this. So we're going to make our way through it. Timestamps will be up throughout the entire video if you want to just jump ahead, listen to what you want to hear. And yeah, got you covered there. If you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like, and if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. And thank you for praying over my prayer request and the end of yesterday morning's video. I really appreciate that. I read through most of the comments, just have not had a chance to engage with it. But I will try to get to that later this afternoon. But thank you for caring so much. Thank you for the love on the channel. I really appreciate y'all very much. You always make me feel so much better, and I genuinely mean that. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. But let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So if you notice a difference in my voice, I went to a football game last night. My Gamecocks beat Texas A&M. If we got any A&M fans, this morning, no hard feelings. I hope not. Not making fun or anything, but it was definitely a fun game, fun night as a Gamecock fan. I'm a big college football fan, so if you notice that my voice is just different, it's because I was hooping and hollering all night. But let's talk about the weather. So this is the area we're watching. Hopefully you can see the pink on your screen, but you see this area of unsettled weather deep down here in the Caribbean. You see the intense colors. You got the reds, the blacks, the whites. This indicates colder cloud tops. What we watch for over the next 48 hours, do we get a defined low-level circulation? If we do, this becomes a depression, which it most likely will over the next 48 hours as we get into this work week. And there's a pretty, I would say there's a really good shot this becomes a tropical storm. The next name is Rafael. Okay, so hopefully I said that right. If this forms, and I think regardless if it forms, I think all this energy is going to kind of head in this general direction. Okay, once it gets right into here, I think that it could peak at its strongest. Okay, maybe more so right into here. Could it sneak and become a hurricane? It could, but after that, it could go this way, okay, or it could go this way or somewhere in between. I think the further north it gets in the Gulf of Mexico, I think it starts to weaken because sea surface temperatures cool significantly. I mean, we're in November, for crying out loud. It's just not the same. It's not the same field out there anymore. The sea surface temperatures have cooled significantly, mainly in the Gulf of Mexico, still totally supportive of tropical development down here in the Caribbean. So this is what's going on right now, the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Let's update this and see if we got a new update here. And we do. So, but nothing's changed, okay? We have a 90% chance of tropical development sometime in the next 7 days. But we have an 80% chance over the next 48 hours. So we basically have a 90% chance we're going to get a depression or a named storm in this red area over the next few days. And this is the latest update. Of course, time changed last night, so the updates come out a little bit of a different time, but same difference here, right? So we have a very high chance we're going to get a defined tropical cyclone out here in the Caribbean over the next few days. So latest from the National Hurricane Center. Let's go over the model guidance. And I'm going to just take my time through this because we're going to go over everything. I mean, the GFS, Euro, etc. So we'll initialize all this for Monday morning. Here it is. It's saying that this is going to be 1,000 millibar low. The GFS is saying this could be a tropical storm by the time we wake up tomorrow morning. Okay, Jamaica here, Cuba here. So, if you're tuning in from Jamaica, a lot of unsettled weather, most likely heading your way over the next few days. Does this try to uptick at a pretty fast pace and intensity over the next few days? Maybe ends up hitting Jamaica as an all-out tropical storm. We have to watch. The GFS says yes for Monday into Tuesday. And then here it is. I mean, it looks like it's really tightly clustered here. It's not, as far as the actual tropical storm, it doesn't look very broad. The actual spin out here is broad, but the actual defined tropical storm looks pretty tiny. It's a 980 millibar low. One would argue that could be a category 1, but this continues, makes landfall, as the latest GFS shows, as around a strong tropical storm status or category 1 hurricane status into western Cuba. And then it gets north of western Cuba. And that is when we will switch to the southeast frame here. Take a closer look at it. Here's the bottom of your screen. And then this does your classic, what all these tropical systems, it seems like, have done in the Gulf of Mexico this hurricane season, and begins to kind of hang out in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. And a lot of people would look at this, if I stop it here and say, oh no, here we go, another strengthening tropical system upon landfall. But once again, I will say it again here. So the northern Gulf of Mexico is very cool. I wouldn't say very cool, but it's cooled significantly, especially in this area that I just circled. Sea surface temperatures are around 80 degrees to the upper 70s, and that does not really support the strengthening or maintaining of tropical development. It definitely doesn't support strengthening. So, this pretty much looks like we're the area where this tropical system is going. So you keep this going here, and we get into Thursday morning. It's a 989 millibar tropical storm at this time, based off the GFS. But look how that millibar right here, so 991, begins to rise pretty quick. That means that this is weakening significantly. And I think it's mainly because it encounters a lot of shear, which then pretty much gets a lot of dry air involved into the system. And that just mixed with the fact that the sea surface temperatures are not very warm for the sustaining of tropical development. So this is around Friday morning. It kind of stalls this out, does not get it all the way to the Gulf Coast, but it eventually gets it going as we get into this coming Friday into Saturday, and then brings a slug of tropical moisture into the deep south, all the way up to the apps, which certainly needs to watch this. Okay, there's been some model guidance kind of flirting with the idea of another pre-event with rain. You don't want too much rain at one time. Let's hope that does not happen. We'll speak more on that if it looks like that's going to evolve like this. But some model guidance is sort of flirting with the idea of that. So that's what the GFS shows. As you can tell, it peaks in intensity kind of in the Northwest Caribbean. And the GFS does the same thing. It does not strengthen this significantly over the next few days. We take it into Tuesday morning. A lot of tropical activity around Jamaica. Just some unsettled weather. Gusty winds. Tropical moisture, and then we get this into Wednesday morning. It's showing around a weak tropical storm heading towards the western sections of Cuba, and then it gets over western Cuba, and it's still 1,002 millibar low. And once again, we will flip it back to this, and 1,002 millibar low down here, which one could argue that's a tropical storm. But look at what the Euro is doing, and a lot of model guidance does this. It starts to throw a lot of rain out ahead of the tropical system. So look at all this rain getting into Wednesday into Georgia, South Carolina, which, by the way, areas of Georgia and South Carolina have not seen rain. Areas, not all of it, areas of rain have not seen measurable rain since Helene. My house has not seen measurable rain in 37 days since Hurricane Helene in central South Carolina. I think that ends later this work week. Big pool of moisture. You don't want too much at one time, though. And I'm telling you, just like I mentioned breaking down the GFS, it's flirting with the idea of this. And let's hope that does not happen. But it just brings a ton of moisture into Georgia and South Carolina. But the actual tropical system's way down here. Okay, still 1,000 millibar low. It kind of just, I would say, drifts this further west than actual north. And the Euro wants to keep this just in the Gulf of Mexico and actually just drifts this east to west. And then eventually brings the slug of moisture sometime this weekend into Louisiana, maybe portions of Texas and Arkansas. So that's 2 runs in a row where, it develops a tropical system, but then it kind of falls apart as it gets into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, the Euro AI model, which does well, I think, in my opinion, Let's back it up for Jamaica. Jamaica, it kind of follows the Euro, takes the actual center of this tropical system west of you guys, brings a slug of moisture into Jamaica probably Monday night into Tuesday. Gusty winds, heavy rain. I don't think it's anything you guys can't handle down here in Jamaica. So I wouldn't overly worry, but certainly be prepared for this. And then it comes up, hits the southern western coastline of Cuba, and is a tropical storm. And then the Euro AI model has been consistent on this. It's kind of went back and forth a little bit, but pretty much has stayed the course with this. We get into Wednesday evening, we got a tropical storm. Look at all the moisture slinging into the southeast. Georgia, South Carolina. This is Wednesday evening this week, November the 6th. Guys, this is bringing a lot of rain. And I've been cracking up with like friends and weather people and stuff like that. Not really cracking up, but talking. Watch it take another tropical system to break the dry streak in areas of the southeast. And here we are. Now, this isn't purely driven off tropical moisture. It's kind of a squeeze play setup between a frontal boundary and a slug of tropical moisture getting kind of pushed north. But you might as well say it is. Thursday morning, here comes a tropical storm. Is it going to weaken upon landfall? It does. It weakens pretty substantially here. It goes from 1,000 millibar low to 1,007. So, and by the time it makes landfall, it's 1,010 millibar low Friday night into Saturday. So, it doesn't do what the GFS and Euro does as far as just hanging out here in the northern Gulf of Mexico and central Gulf. It does just ride this right into the southeast coastline, but it weakens, brings a lot of rain. Some areas, I would say some people will call this beneficial. Some people will say, okay, I don't want too much at one time. I don't think any of us need too much at one time. But I really think we'll break our drought across the southeast potentially with this. And then we'll look at the Canadian. We'll kind of speed this up. Same thing, Jamaica. A lot of tropical moisture Monday night into Tuesday morning. This is just further east. So it brings a landfalling tropical system into the central southern coastline of Cuba. Brings a lot of tropical moisture into the Florida Keys. You want to watch out for like a tornado risk with this if it's that close, and just taking another closer look at this. And look at this. Look at all this tropical moisture over Florida Wednesday, and then look at all that moisture into Georgia and South Carolina Wednesday evening into Thursday morning, and then it just is way east on the Canadian. And then the icon, we'll speed this up now. We'll go all the way to about Thursday morning. Here it is. And the icon really has this falling apart completely before even reaching the southeast coastline. So if you look at the GEFS ensemble, makes up 21 members, and we'll start this for, might as well say Wednesday morning. Most members form something. Some of them are strong, some of them are weaker, but it takes all these members into the Gulf of Mexico. The big question is, what members kind of continue to cruise west in the Gulf of Mexico? Which ones kind of head north and make an actual landfall and speed up? But it really splits right here. See how it splits right here? And this is for, Friday evening. You got a pretty big spread right in here. Some of these are wanting to go like this. Some of them kind of like this. And you got some of them just doing the hook, just like that. So it's a big question. I think regardless, just a big rainmaker for the Gulf coastline. But you look at the Euro ensemble too, and it's even a bigger of a split. Check this out. This is Friday morning. It has most of the members, this is still a spread, but most of the members are wanting to go out here. And I think the further this hangs out in the Gulf of Mexico, the further south, the longer it maintains strength. But you got some members doing like that. So pretty wild stuff, guys. It's, still got a lot to figure out. The further south these hang, I would say the stronger it maintains itself. The longer it maintains itself in strength, because the sea surface temperatures are just more supportive down here. And speaking of those sea surface temperatures, 26, 27 degrees Celsius, and this is in Celsius. You turn that into Fahrenheit, that's upper 70s, around 80 degrees. Okay, down here, it's in the low, even some areas in the mid 80s still in the Caribbean. But it drops a few degrees to even several degrees once you get into the Gulf of Mexico. So the sea surface temperatures definitely support a tropical system in the Caribbean. Gulf of Mexico, it begins to fall off. Now, you look at the upper wind pattern. These are winds at 200 millibars, 40,000 feet up in the air. A lot of divergence aloft down here. We'll start off for this evening, and we're going to just take it into, I would say, all the way into about midday tomorrow. So it's saying our low is going to be somewhere around here. Okay, get this back off. You notice these lines with the arrows embedded into it, like you got this going on over here. You got this going on right over here. You got this going right here, this right here. From what I'm noticing, a lot of air is being pushed out away from the actual low. So in the upper levels of the atmosphere, it's getting pushed away from the actual low-level circulation, because these are winds actually above the tropical low-level circulation. So this is getting dispersed outward. This allows for more air to rise, and then that gets forced outward. So it's basically an environment that supports rising air, which means you get a moist environment because rising air, shower and storm activity. So you get this back off, and you continue to have that pattern in the Caribbean. And the reason that we kind of worry for that kind of surge of moisture out ahead of this system is because, once again, deja vu. Now, I'm not trying to freak anybody out with Helene, but you see kind of how this goes like this. A lot of air getting pushed north of the system. That is a big slug. That would end up verifying in a slug of moisture well ahead of this system, along with this boundary right here. So you'll get something going on right here. You don't want that. But the closer it certainly gets into the Gulf of Mexico, the more shear gets involved. Like, for example, you get this trough that kind of is digging down right here. So this is getting blasted by westerly flow. So it's going to get hit by westerly shear. Therefore, the western side of the system is going to get hit by dry air. Well, it's not going to get hit by dry air. It gets hit by wind shear. Then it allows for dry air to get into the system. So you see that well here. Big time tropical moisture. This is the moisture levels in the mid levels of the atmosphere, dry or moist air. So obviously brown, dry air, green, moist air. So you keep this going. Big time moist environment with this system. Okay. Earlier on, we get into Wednesday. Still big time moist environment. Check out the moisture surging out ahead of this system. Right in here. But right at the last second, dry air gets really into the storm off the GFS. So even though the GFS is the strongest run, check out how the dry air starts to get into the western side of the system. So it's kind of like you got the moist air on this side, dry air on this side, and this just totally wrecks this tropical system. Okay. So we got to continue to watch this, guys. That's an update on the tropics. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting setup for sure. As far as what's happening today, a lot of moisture over the middle of the country. We got this area of unsettled weather, this leftover line of storms moving through areas of Oklahoma, getting into Arkansas. We got just a big slug of rain across the Midwest, Missouri, all the way up to Wisconsin. Definitely a rainy Sunday morning here across this area. We got some storms bubbling up already down here in the hill country of Texas, and we just got scattered energy across the western U.S. Now, watches, warnings, and advisories. We have winter storm watches across the northern Rockies. We got high wind warnings and watches. We got winter weather advisories littered across the central Rockies. We got flood watches. We got active warnings right now with the severe weather and flash flooding. But the old eastern U.S., as quiet as it goes, just not a whole lot going on. Now, we look at the excessive rainfall outlook for today. And once again, weather-wise, amazing site, web, period, weather-wise, period, app is the site to go to. They have an app. And we're working on them to try to be able to look at these outlooks without the active watches and warnings on them. I actually hit them up this morning. I think they're working on it. But because it's just a lot of clutter here. But if you live, and we're going to zoom out at first. If you live in this yellow area, that's where you have a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being exceeded within 25 miles any given location. So certainly going to be a risk of flash flooding today and into tomorrow also. And then we look at the risk of severe weather. There's a huge slight, excuse me, hopefully I don't lose my voice here in a second, but there's a huge slight risk in this area. See if we have a new update. We do not. This includes Oklahoma City down to Abilene, almost all the way to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather. Check out this tornado risk today, guys. 5% risk of a tornado. We'll see if this updates to a 10% risk. If it does, then we'll have an enhanced risk. So just know I'm doing these videos before 8 a.m. Eastern time. So we could have some changes in some of these outlooks. But for now, just a 5% risk of a tornado. Wind threat 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. And then the hail threat, we do have a risk of significant hail. Okay. So, if you live in the yellow area, 15% risk of hail. If you live in the black outline area embedded into this yellow area, that's a 10% risk of significant hail. And it stretches from, Lawton, Altus, Vernon, all the way to Abilene, Texas. So, man, active next couple days of severe weather. You can tell people are really hyper-focused on the tropics based off the algorithm of YouTube right now. But man, the severe weather, I would argue, is a bigger topic than the tropics. I think just everybody's just hung up over the tropics, and, rightfully so. But, anyways, we'll keep this going. The southeast, quiet for the immediate southeast. We could get a little bit of light rain activity deep in South Carolina and southeast Georgia and down into Florida. Of course, we'll speak on all this over here once we get to the south central frame. But, the immediate southeast, outside some drizzle, light rain, looks mainly quiet. The low country of South Carolina, even just areas of South Carolina and Georgia, could wake up to some showers tomorrow morning. But it's a pretty quiet weather day across the immediate southeast. The northeast, pretty much the same thing. We get into this afternoon, not a whole lot to speak on. A big area of energy surging north. The ridge is flexing over the northeast. So, most of the energy is going through Quebec and Ontario up here. But the immediate northeast over the next 24 hours is quiet weather. Now, the south central U.S., we'll spend a couple minutes on this. This area of storms is moving into Arkansas already right now. Behind this, another surge of shower and storm activity will get going in Oklahoma this afternoon, this evening, all the way from North Texas to Oklahoma and to Arkansas, even down Louisiana. But this could get going if the atmosphere can become unstable again in Oklahoma, North Texas. We could have not only a flash flooding risk, but a tornado and a damaging wind and a large hail threat, especially on the southern extension of these storms down here. And then I really think the flooding threat could become a bigger deal later this evening as we just have more training of storms over this area. And just taking a closer look at this, the time is right here, but just back this up 1 hour because we're in a central time, okay? You keep this going, so at this point we're around noon today. Look at all these storms, look at all this just heavy rain, shower and storm activity across Oklahoma, but it's really as we're getting to around 4 p.m. This is what I worry about, okay? All this up here in Oklahoma, sure, you could get some severe weather, but these storms, I would say down here, are a bit more concerning because they look a little bit more discreet. They just are going to be able to take advantage of the ingredients in the atmosphere a little bit better than all this clutter up here. So you're probably going to get some large hail. You're probably going to get a tornado risk with this semi-discrete supercell event. So if you live in Wichita Falls, I believe, Abilene, up into all the way into Oklahoma City, definitely a concern. And this continues, and I really think we got to watch for a big-time flash flooding risk into central and eastern Oklahoma, maybe all the way into western Arkansas as we get deeper into the evening, as we continue. Like it's around 9 p.m. I mean, just a lot of heavy rain and storm activity. And then it just lasts overnight. And then we'll just have another area of energy that you're waking up to most likely tomorrow morning in central Oklahoma. So it just keeps on going. And, you look at the updraft velocity swath through this area, folks. And, I mean, yeah. All these storms, whether you have one segment of storms or 3 or 4, they're going to be rotating. You see these colors, this indicates rotation with these storms. These storms will definitely be rotating today. Doesn't mean every single one that's rotating is going to produce a tornado, but it will have a shot to. And here's the rainfall over the next just 24 hours. And once again, some of these alerts are going to kind of clutter up your screen, working on that to be able to kind of toggle off that, if you will. But we'll kind of take a zoomed out look. This is Arkansas. This is North Texas. This is Oklahoma. And just zooming in, Oklahoma City here. This is the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Wichita Falls. But in this corridor right here in areas of North Texas, Texarkana area, eastern Oklahoma, and then the northwestern half of Arkansas, folks, what is this? This is 2.5 to the potential for 5 inches of rain down here. Okay, this is, McAllister, Clayton, And then you get into Fayetteville. I mean, a swath of 2.5, 3 inches of rain, 4 inches of rain is possible, all the way into southern sections of Missouri. So just taking a broader look at this area right here, a lot of rain could fall, folks. So up here in the north central U.S., just a steady rain in eastern Iowa today. This will get into northern Illinois if you want to take a Sunday afternoon nap, which I might, by the way. It's a great day to do it in the upper Midwest. Wisconsin getting into the UP and Michigan, just a steady light to moderate rain will take over. And then, this later tonight into tomorrow morning, it just gets kind of a little bit more widespread. But waking up tomorrow morning to more shower and storm activity, mainly just rain, I would say, in Illinois, getting into Lake Michigan, the southern sections of, well, pretty much lower Michigan. Then we have this area of energy back here too. So just a lot of things going on, guys. It's just ridiculous. And just talking about how much rain could fall up here over the next 24 hours. Not as heavy, but folks, I mean, a good washout, 1 to 2 inches of rain. Just to zoom out of this is Iowa, this is Wisconsin, this is Illinois. But right here, kind of where Wisconsin, Illinois, Dubuque, for example, could get the most rain right here in this area over the next 24 hours. Maybe 2 inches of rain is possible with this. So out into the Rockies, definitely just a lot of scattered energy, nothing too crazy. But, as we start to get into this afternoon, to this evening, to the overnight hours, I really think the snow could really pick up in the Four Corners region. Colorado, for example, this could really get going. Northern half of New Mexico, the higher elevations. Waking up tomorrow morning, the opportunity for a lot of snow to be falling in this area. Kind of a sneaky event down here in New Mexico. Southern Colorado, and we could get some rain changing the snow tomorrow morning, early afternoon, even in extreme western Oklahoma. That's something to watch out for. It's getting to that time of the year. And snowfall across the Rockies, this is what it looks like. The heaviest looks to be in Colorado. And just taking a little bit closer look at this, there is a potential for some accumulating snow into Denver. Not sure if this will be the event for you guys, but definitely several inches of snow in the Rockies of Colorado. Temperatures, cool day in the Northeast. Just a rain-cool day across the upper Midwest. Definitely a slither of warm air into the Ohio Valley. We're getting some nice return flow into the Carolinas where it'll feel more like fall. But once you get into the deep south, tropical moisture, the further west you get, the more humid it gets. And then temperatures out west, this is what we're looking like here. But tomorrow, an enhanced risk, folks, level 3 out of 5. This is a big deal. All right. For this area. So same area that's under the gun for a lot of rain today. Extreme southwest Arkansas, southwest Missouri, western Arkansas, the eastern sections of Oklahoma, and just northeast of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So this area right here in Texas, Paris, Mount Pleasant, up to Fort Smith, Fayetteville, Arkansas, McAllister. And all these areas right here, folks. If we zoom out, we look at the category risk threats, and there is a 10% risk of not only a tornado, but also a 10% risk of a strong tornado in this area. Pretty much covers the entire 10% risk of a tornado area, except this northern part. But, I mean, folks, this is a pretty big deal. Oklahoma, East Texas. Yeah, you guys have a risk of strong tornadoes. And there's a 5% risk of a tornado that stretches all the way to Jefferson City, all the way down to almost Waco, Texas. And then the risk for wind tomorrow, folks, there's a 30% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. So this is also a big wind threat in the same area where you had the big tornado threat. And then the hail threat. Okay? It's more so back here, but still a risk of hail. Not as big of a threat. You got a 15% risk of hail. So just a quick look at the HRRR model, the HRRR model, as far as how this could evolve tomorrow. What we're watching for is we're getting into about the early afternoon. It's around 2 p.m. There's a chance it could be snowing in extreme western Oklahoma and tornadoes ongoing in eastern Oklahoma tomorrow afternoon. Northern Texas, eastern Oklahoma, these storms could be tornado producers. And then this sweeps into western Arkansas, Texarkana area. And these could be very dangerous storms, folks. This is around 5 p.m. tomorrow. The border of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, up to the border of Missouri.
these storms will be dangerous. We'll speak more on this. I might do a special video tonight on this. We'll see what happens. But that's all I got, guys. 30 minutes of just a lot of weather. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you again soon.